What I wanted to talk about today, though, was something different. I wanted to talk about the comparison issue that I see happening a lot as many of you are starting to get up and out in the world. Some of you, maybe not so much as others. Some people are starting to live their true self. Some are wanting to, but not quite. And it's a stage of transformation where we start to like want to get out there, and some people are doing what we want to do, and it hits that thing. And some of us are doing one thing, and another person kind of copies and does the same thing. And all of that stuff that starts to happen and causes ego activation. And I want to just create a very authentic discussion around this, because this piece is so massive to break through in order to get yourself out there living your purpose. Comparison is a huge issue, and yeah, so I'm going to start with that. So first of all, does anyone have any thoughts to say or anything based on just me bringing that topic up? Does that hit any of you in any way? Peggy? Yeah, tell me a little bit about what you're noticing.
I am, when somebody makes a big leap or is making big progress, I think I'm not doing something right. I'm not doing this right. I'm not doing the ABC right. Maybe I should go back to DNRS and work with a coach back through that. Um, so, and that's part of my people pleasing aspect. It's part of my perfectionism aspect. Am I doing this the way it needs to be done? And I know in my I guess intellectual mind that there is no right way. There are some basics that are important to include as you're doing, like ABC. But I'm not making the kind of progress that I would like to be making. So then when I see somebody else making great strides, it's like I'm doing something wrong.
Mhm. Thank you for sharing that. That's being vulnerable and also admitting aspects of the ego that are obstructing your own life force flow. And that's
Mhm.
super common. And one of the things, so with that type of comparison, that's often an earlier stage comparison where we feel like we're doing something wrong because they're having more success than we are. And unfortunately, we're brought up in a culture that breeds that type of comparison. One of the things that I found for me at that stage that was so important is, first of all, realizing that we're all connected on some level. When one person has a breakthrough energetically in the consciousness, it allows others to do the same. Think about it as in terms of, like, for example, when the first person broke the 4 minute mile. Once one person was able to run a mile in under 4 minutes, all of a sudden, all over the planet, people could do that. Why was that? Because it became possible. And then there was like I don't remember what it was below that. I don't know where people are at in running the mile, but then there was another breakthrough. And then the consciousness perceives it's possible. And then the subconscious, that's always attuning to the superconscious field, is like, oh, it's possible. So what blocks us from that is the resistance of that experience, of going right into resistance because someone else had a better experience. So it's like, if that person would have run a mile and the collective would have been like, well, I can't do that, or what am I doing wrong? There's a negative energy there, versus like, oh my gosh, that's possible. Then maybe it's possible for me. So it's important that you catch that cycle, because you're actually obstructing your own intuitive guidance. And so, for example, in that situation, someone has a breakthrough and you'd be like, wow, it's possible. What is it that I need to be able to do that too? Instead of like, what am I doing wrong? What is something, and asking, like, in other words, like, you're celebrating them and you're like, what is it that's going to help me do that? It's a very different energy than I'm doing it wrong. It's subtle, but there's a difference. Can you catch that difference?
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. And, I learned this lesson. Well, Dorothy's taught it to me many, many times over the years, but the first time I really had to learn it was in my late 20s when I was starting to compare how all of my friends were getting married, and I was with somebody and we were engaged, and like right before the wedding we called it off, and I wasn't getting married, and I had a summer of all these other weddings I had to be in, and was like devastated. And Dorothy, back way back then, was like, how can you experience the joy that you uh, the joy with them? How can you be grateful with them? And I spent that whole summer like celebrating them as if it was my own wedding day. And I was like, at the end of the summer, I had the best summer. And it was amazing, but I could have went through it two ways, just like woe is me, or celebrating the energy of love. And it was such a key learning because I almost took the other path. And that's kind of how it is with our recovery process. It's like that. It's like when one person breaks through that 4 minute mile, when you're willing to celebrate that energy, you're actually opening up your attractor field to be inspired to do the same. And so instead of you, Peggy, like, oh, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? What do I need to do different? There'll be an inspiration that comes through you because your attractor field is now energetically aligned with that person because you're in non resistance to their experience and you're actually joining them. You're actually joining them. And so something will happen in your own awareness of like, it might just be like, oh, I haven't been elevating in this particular way, or oh, I haven't I don't know, it could be anything. You'll get a witness because you're aligning your energy field with theirs. I
Okay.
talk a lot about how I'm doing transmissions with you guys. I'm trying to align your fields with like the sources that I'm trying to, that I seek for my own alignment. And it's a real thing. I mean, this gets into real energetic quantum principles, but just start by like when you see someone break through and they're able to break through something you're not, like celebrate them like they were you. You will be inspired on how to do the same if you do that. It's an attunement.